You can buy a dozen cleaning products today, sprays, wipes, scented chemicals that promise 99.9%, and still live in a house that feels dusty, stale, and strangely tiring to breathe in. We call it normal. We blame allergies, we blame the city, we blame the weather. Then we buy another bottle. But in the Middle Ages, people had no air purifiers, no vacuum cleaners, and no antibacterial sprays. Their homes were imperfect, yes, but they had a surprising advantage modern houses often lose. They understood that a home is an environment you manage, not a box you seal. And once you see how medieval households controlled smell, dust, and sickness risk with almost nothing, you'll realize something uncomfortable. A lot of modern indoor discomfort isn't caused by dirt, it's caused by trapped air. To understand this, imagine a medieval home in winter. Not a castle, an ordinary dwelling. The hearth is burning, smoke rises, the walls are simple, everything is close, and everyone spends more time indoors. If the air turns bad, you can't escape it. And bad air wasn't just unpleasant, it was dangerous. People didn't know germ theory, but they knew cause and effect. When air felt heavy, when rooms stayed damp, when bedding stayed musty, people got sick more often. So they built daily habits around three enemies: dampness, dust, and stagnation. The first enemy was dampness, because dampness is invisible rot. It ruins food, it ruins cloth, it ruins wood, and it creates the perfect conditions for smells, mold, and pests. Medieval people didn't dehumidify with a machine. They dehumidified with behavior. They aired out the home. That might sound obvious, but modern homes often don't do it. We keep windows shut. We run air conditioning. We trap moisture from showers, cooking, and breathing inside a sealed space. We think we're controlling comfort, but we're also building a warm, damp ecosystem. Medieval households fought dampness by making air movement normal. Doors opened, shutters moved. Drafts were tolerated because drafts kept things from turning sour. Bedding was aired. Clothing was hung. Even in cold weather, people understood that a short burst of fresh air could reset a room. And here's the twist. They didn't do it because they liked fresh air. They did it because stale air smelled like danger. The second enemy was dust, and not the neat, modern dust you imagine. Medieval dust was a mixture of ash, soil tracked in from outside, bits of straw, fibers from cloth, and soot from the hearth. If you let it build up, it didn't just look bad. It became a constant irritant. It settled into bedding. It entered lungs. It clung to damp corners. So they cleaned differently. Not by polishing every surface with chemicals, but by removing the material that created dust in the first place and by keeping floors and textiles under control. Floors were swept often. Rugs were beaten outside. Bedding was shaken and aired. Straw or rushes were replaced. Ash was managed daily. The goal wasn't sterile perfection. The goal was to stop the home from becoming a compost pile of particles. Modern cleaning sometimes does the opposite. We spray scents that sit on top of odor. We wipe surfaces but ignore textiles. We vacuum once a week but keep the windows shut so particles never leave, they just circulate. Which brings us to the third enemy: stagnation. A room can be clean and still feel oppressive if the air is trapped. Medieval people couldn't afford trapped air because their homes contained fire, smoke, bodies, animals, and food. Stagnation meant everything lingered: smells, moisture, and whatever made you cough. So they created circulation. They didn't have fans, but they had architecture and routine. Chimneys, vents, gaps, and regular opening of the home. In many places and times, herbs were used not only for pleasant smell, but because strong natural aromas signaled, this space is maintained. Even without scientific understanding, the message was real. A home that smells fresh is a home that is dry, aired, and cared for. Now, to be clear, medieval homes were not modern clean. There was smoke, there were pests, there were outbreaks of disease. We should not romanticize it. But the habits they developed under constraint reveal something important. Your home's health is largely about moisture and air movement, and that is exactly where many modern homes fail. We built them like sealed containers. Then we try to fix the consequences with products. So what can you steal from medieval house cleaning without giving up modern comfort? First, treat air as a cleaning tool. Once or twice a day, create a deliberate air reset. Open windows on opposite sides for a few minutes. Let the home breathe. You don't need to keep it open for hours. You need a short exchange that breaks stagnation. Second, dry your home like medieval people did. Don't let towels stay damp. Don't let laundry sit wet. Vent bathrooms, manage kitchen steam. If you control moisture, half your odor and stale problems disappear. Third, clean textiles like they matter, because they do. Air bedding. Wash pillowcases. Beat rugs if you can. Vacuum the couch. Textiles are where dust and smell live. And medieval people understood that even if they didn't call it that. Fourth, stop masking and start removing. A scent spray is not fresh. Fresh is what happens after you remove dampness and exchange air. Medieval people didn't have the option to mask, they had to manage conditions. That's why their approach, in some ways, was more honest than ours. And finally, build a small, daily routine instead of a big, weekly battle. Medieval cleaning wasn't a Saturday event. It was constant maintenance. Ash out, sweep, shake, air, a little every day, so the home never slid into decay. Because a house isn't clean when it smells like chemicals. A house feels clean when it is dry, aired, and alive with moving air. And once you start managing your home like an environment instead of a sealed box, you'll notice something almost immediately. You breathe easier. Not because you bought a better product, but because you remembered the oldest cleaning tool in the world, fresh air, and started using it like medieval people had to.